So today, I need you to ask yourself the following questions. Am I going to get back into World of Warcraft? Is World of Warcraft going to get me? Am I going to get got? Hopefully by the end of this video, you'll know if World of Warcraft: The War Within is going to draw you back home. So without wasting more time, let's take a crack at it, break the ice, and dive on in. First, I'm going to go over warbands. When you log into the beta, or when the War Within is finally released, you'll notice 4 of your characters on the front of your character screen. This is your main squad. So take the 4 coolest characters you've got and throw them on the front of your character screen to see every single time you log in. The new system of warbands actually applies to your entire account, regardless of realm or faction. Your warband, essentially, is being given some wicked bonuses when it comes to cross-character benefits. So, Altaholics out there, rejoice, you're going to have a great expansion. Your reputation, flight paths, achievements, and newly discovered transmog are all shared among your warband. And yes, that means if your mage is running old transmog content, your warrior is going to be collecting too. Also, your characters will now have access to a warband bank, tradable currencies, and warband gear, which can be traded from character to character until it's equipped. Considering I can never choose and stick with the same specialization for long, I'm going to be loving the warband feature. Next, we're going to talk about the Earthen. The Earthen are the newest playable allied race that will be introduced in the War Within. Some people are probably stoked, others might not be, so yeah, maybe it's a bit of a boring reveal, or maybe they're just getting slept on, but either way, I think there's some cool things you should know. Earthen dwarves have some wicked customization. Ladies with beards, gems to your liking, and yes, they do have a heritage armor set. Though I must personally admit, I kinda wish they didn't, but maybe the finishing touches will do the trick. However, their totems, their paladin mount, and their racial mount look absolutely incredible. Here's some previews. And yes, with Earthen being an allied race, they're available to the Alliance and the Horde. The Earthen can be every class except for Demon Hunter, Evoker, and Druid. And as an allied race, they also begin at level 10. Earthen dwarves are a tad bit larger than the other dwarf races, and they still have their very own racials to explore and experiment with, though they'll need some tuning, as with other abilities. Their unlock is pretty standard, as completing the max level campaign should award you with this new playable allied race. Up next is Hero Talents. Hero Talents have got me pretty excited for the War Within. As you look at the list of Hero Talents, you'll notice some serious buzzwords. Things like Sandlane Death Knight, Rider of the Apocalypse, which is a fan favorite for those following the development of the War Within, Dark Ranger, Sentinel, Diabloist, Hellcaller, and my personal favorite, every single one of the Warrior hero specs. Each specialization gets to choose from 2 different hero specs, which allows for the potential to have some amazing customization. These talents appear in the center of your talent tree, where you can select one, and then the talent tree itself gains points as you grow to level 80 like normal. You can select hero talents such as Rider of the Apocalypse, where Death Knights can remain mounted in combat and summon the 4 horsemen to assist them in battle. If you don't believe me, go ahead and check it out. You could also select Colossus Warrior, which makes you larger than other warriors and gives you the ability Demolish, which looks to be incredibly fun to smash people with. A lot of hero talents are still being refined, but the beta begins pretty much now, and as they develop, I'm pretty sure everyone's going to end up loving the hero talents. Now for something that's not as new, but it will play a role in the next expansion. That'll be skywriting. It was originally introduced in Dragonflight as Dragon Riding. It was then later renamed Dynamic Flight, and now it's just known as Sky Riding. And in the new expansion, it will now be added to tons of other flying mounts. You'll be able to utilize Dynamic Flight on Invincible, Sky Golem, Flying Carpets, Old Gladiator mounts, and whatever you can think of. Takes a bit to get used to, but don't worry, Static Flight will still be available to toggle on and off from your spellbook. I cannot tell you how excited I am to see my old favorite mounts take flight with Sky Riding. And you can bet your last honor point I'm going to be flying my favorite mounts straight into the new continent, Khaz-Algar. Khaz-Algar is made up of 4 distinct zones. First of those is the Isle of Dorn. The Isle of Dorn is home to the earthen dwarves on the surface of Khaz-Algar. This is the only zone in the expansion that is not underground. It's got a very familiar layout with a bit of dwarven architecture and nostalgic charm. Looks like we'll be facing off against the native wildlife of the Isle. Also take note that the new capital city of this expansion will be located here. Second is the Ringing Deeps, directly below the Isle of Dorn. This zone has a sprinkle of wildlife that inhabits the surface just below the isle. It's pretty much a big dwarven mine. There's forges and kobolds who apparently now have a city. They also have a king, dubbed the Candle King. Some areas of this zone appear to be dark and brooding, while other areas appear scattered around the zone, almost like sanctuaries from looming threats in the dark. The third is Hallowfall. This is home of the Arathi faction. The Arathi faction has been stranded in Hallowfall for quite some time. They constantly fight for their survival from the Nerubian threat below them. The Arathi faction is always worshipping the light and creating fantastic architecture and machinery to aid in their survival. A giant crystal does light the zone, and apparently it does turn purple. And when it does this, I've heard that it makes significant changes to the zone, so that'll be pretty interesting to see. Last of the zones is Azj-Kahet. This is a Nerubian city. Webs, creatures, and old god influence everywhere. Here, I'm hoping we get to know the minds of the Nerubians and the hierarchy of their species. Also, this 4th zone is home to the first raid, but I will get to that in a minute. The last thing I need to mention about these zones is that the layout will be vertical and not horizontal, so you can fly from one zone to the next pretty much by flying up or down. Personally, I'm pretty stoked to see how this is going to work out. So next is Delves. Delves are a non-instanced open world adventure type scenario where you can be accompanied by 1 to 5 players as well as a seasonal companion. Season 1 happens to be Bran Bronzebeard. You can take him with you in the Delves, he can level up, he can focus on heals or damage as well as level up to have additional effects. Roles in these are 100% flexible. You just step into the area and you're prompted to select a difficulty. Here it also explains the effects of the difficulty before you enter. Just select a difficulty and off you go. The objectives in the Delves do change daily, just to add some flavor and keep it exciting. There should be 12 on release, as well as an unlockable 13th with a Nerubian Chad at the end to defeat. Delves will be tied to their own Great Vault rewards, and have various cosmetic rewards, such as this customizable flying mount. Hopefully Delves add some nice flavor for the player base, and for solo players in particular. While Delves are not instance content, you already know what it is. So next we're going to go over dungeons and the raid. So to start, there will be 8 total dungeons, 4 that will be available to you while leveling, and 4 at max level. When it comes to endgame content and the Mythic Plus rewards, there is a new Keystone Master mount that's already been released. And to be honest, I'm going to be getting this mount one way or another. The raid will obviously be available in Azj-Kahet, the last zone. This raid is called Nerubar Palace. It is an 8-boss raid with pits filled with old god blood, webs, and apparently some pretty unique traversal. And yes, the end boss will be the Nerubian Queen. They have also released the mount that will be dropping from this raid. This would be the Nerubian Warbeast. Each and every color of this mount look amazing. So raiders, I don't think you got the short end of the stick this time around. I will also be seeking out this mount. Okay, so that should be everything major that I can think of that could get you coming back. Do some more research, make your decision, and if you feel like it's worth giving a shot, come on back. The beta starts today, so let's see how it goes. I'm gonna try to net the beta, download that thing, and give it a shot. Any comments on this video, put it down. I'll read it, I'll answer it. I'm curious. Criticism, answers, questions, throw it in the comments. And if you want to follow my journey through the beta and through the War Within, please subscribe, keep watching. Let me know how it is. Let me know if you like it. So by all means, stay tuned.